Hello, good afternoon, everyone who all are joining in and who may join later in the event today. I'm going to start this session by a quote. Basically, it is said that your EQ should be higher than your IQ in order for you to be successful in life. Now, EQ is the emotional quotient and IQ is the intelligent quotient. Now, I do not give the credibility of the statement, but I somehow agree with the statement. If you agree with this, you have come to the right place. So, hello and welcome. This is your host, Himanshi Kaushik, and I heartily and sincerely welcome you all in today's webinar on importance of emotional intelligence in the era of artificial intelligence. And I hope that you all are doing good, sound, happy, and healthy at wherever you're taking this webinar or session from. So before we move on to the session and learn a lot more about the emotional intelligence, we have our expert here with us. So I shall introduce you to our expert. We have Ms. Tanya Nagpal, who is currently an assistant professor at Mittal School of Business, lovely professional university here with us. She is a motivated management graduate and a seasoned professional with over 10 years of experience in leadership and organized behavior, business ethics and corporate social responsibility, human resource analytics as well. She is pursuing her PhD from LPU, that is lovely professional university here, only in the area of HR analytics and HR decisions in select Indian banking sector. Her area of expertise includes leadership and organizational behavior and human resource analytics. She has presented several papers in national conferences and seminars, and she has published 2 research papers in Scopus Index journals already. She has guided several master's capstone projects. She has received Best Research Paper Award on GST implementation in India, what Punjab says, in Finance Conclave in 2018. The project under her guidance, application of HR analytics and talent acquisition, received the Best Project Award in Project Expo in 2019. And she has acted as a resource person in faculty development programs such as Train the Trainer, HR analytics, time management, and competency mapping. So it is a pleasure for us, for all the participants here, to be able to listen, to be able to gain knowledge from the expert here. And with this, ma'am, I sincerely welcome you in the webinar. And before I ask and request you to take over the screen, I want all the participants to know now that you can raise your queries. You can write your questions, queries in the chat box, in the Q&A box, or you can just raise your hand so that we can allow you to talk to our expert here directly. So with this, ma'am, I just request you to kindly take over the screen, and looking forward for an amazing session.
Thank you so much, Himanshi ma'am. I first of all would like to extend my thanks to Division of Admissions, lovely professional university, who has provided me the opportunity today. And in front of you, I am presenting today the topic, which is the importance of emotional intelligence in the era of the artificial intelligence. And ma'am has already talked about the introduction. And I'm working here from the last 10 and more than 10 years now as an assistant professor in management. So this topic of the emotional intelligence is the need of the hour. And I hope everyone over here will also resonate with me when I talk about that our success is not only being determined with the intelligence that we have, but it also is determined with the emotions and the emotional intelligence that we all carry in ourselves. And this topic has already gained a lot of recognition and the importance in the past before. And many organizational leaders in the industries and the academicians also, they have researched on this topic. And I want that before we delve into this topic of the emotional intelligence and in the era of AI, so I want that those who are attending to this webinar, they should also be responding to us through the chat. as you can ask us the questions and the queries relating with the admission. So I also want that we should optimize the use of our chat option to also participate into some activity. So here is my first very activity, which we can also say as an ice breaking activity. And in this ice breaking activity, what I want is that I want all of you to imagine that you are going to be put under some situations, and how those situations leads to some triggers, whether these triggers are negative or the positive. So you may be able to identify that, right? So your response to these situations may be negative or positive, right? It is totally up to you. And you have to answer through the chat that how would you react to these situations. So I hope that all those who are listening over here, they are ready and they understand to this. Okay, so let's start now. And I want to give you the situation first. That the first situation is that the other person in your surrounding, who can be your colleague, who can be your supervisor, or it could be a client. Okay, so that person is not following your instructions, or they're doing as you have asked them. Now, in this situation, how will you react? So you can give yourself some rating. It can range from -10 to +10. So kindly provide yourself the first rating. The second rating, and please simultaneously share it in the chat. In the chat section, you can share your rating in the first statement. The second statement is that when the same other person takes the credit for your work. So how will you respond? Okay. I would like to also mention here that please, you don't have to take it as an subjective, and you don't have to explain this to anyone, but you have to mention your reaction, and we want you to quantify your reaction. So you can give yourself rating, because as per the activity, the rating should be between -10 to +10, which means highly negative to highly positive. So the third is about is belittling or demeaning, when the same other person is making you feel little or they are not valuing you. Right. Thank you. Thank you. So same way, we have more situations for you in the next slide. In the next slide, when the supervisor or the manager who is also looking after your work is micromanaging you and guessing you every time. So how will you respond? Please mention it in the chat. How would you respond? And the next statement is that the supervisor or your manager is controlling rather than the inspiring or empowering you. All right, all right. I can see some of the responses. They are very quickly done. Now, finally, we are into the third situation, and this is saying that it is about you now. So, firstly, the situations were about the other people around you. Now, the situation is talking to you, talking about yourself. So, what response do you people make when you make a mistake? Do you take it negatively or do you take it positively? So, please give your response. Yeah. So, you can please give yourself the point. You can give yourself the point for positive or negative, as it has been mentioned in the activity. Okay, now the second last statement for this activity says that when you only do or say something inappropriate or offensive, you do or you say something to the other which is inappropriate or offensive. Okay, all right. And lastly, we have is when you have a strong opinion, but the other people are not agreeing to you. Okay. Yeah. So after you have responded to all the given statements over here, now you may calculate your score. You may calculate that how many positives and how many negatives you have now collected in your basket. Okay. You have to compile the score basically. Now, you all have done, you all have responded to the given situations, which are quite common to each one of us. Mr. Vinay has already shared the score, which is 15 score. That's good, Vinay. Okay, so there is a importance actually, which is lying in the activity that we all just did, that you all just participated in. There is a importance that is lying, and in order to understand that, let's just try to now delve into this topic of the emotions, emotional intelligence, and how this is important in the age of AI. So now I want to move further. Next slide. Okay. So in front of you, you may be able to see some of the important statements which are being made by some famous personalities. And these personalities are the players, they are into the field of the sports, right? I am talking about the Naomi Osaka. I'm talking about the Amanda Anisimova and about the Bianca Andreescu. So all these are quite, you know, famous. They are pro into their field of the sports, and they have been also getting so many laurels in the field of the tennis, right? So from the past some years and even evident today, now the people are able to recognize and they're able to understand themselves in a manner that it leads to them to take some very important decisions of their life. And over here in these new statements also, you may find to some pattern that all these leading stars which have gained lot of recognition, they are world number 2, they are world number 1 players, right? And after gaining that position, they decide that now they want to take a back seat, they want to take some time off, and after, you know, uh, getting some energy back, after taking some time off to heal themselves, then they want that they should come and they should shine, right? So with this, I want all of you to understand a few things. Please, next. I want all of you to understand about actually what are emotions. And since our topic is about emotional intelligence, so it is quite important for us to understand that which are the differences which we basically don't understand, but it is existing in case of emotions, feelings, and affect. Okay. And why do they matter? Okay. Now, you all people experience emotions. Am I right? Do you agree to me or not? Do you experience some emotions? So, are these emotions equal to feelings? Means, if I talk about our emotions, feelings, then is it right? Actually, if we see technically, these are not the same, right? When we talk about the feelings, okay, the feelings may be subjective, and emotions, on the other hand, are expressive, right? So emotions, I would say, also are intense, right? They come and they, are immediately realized, right? So emotions are basically experienced by each one of the individual. Yes, yes, Amartya. So by each individual subconsciously, right? It involves our mental processes, it involves cognition, right? And since our mind comprises of conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. So basically, we get originated with them through the subconscious mind. Now, imagine if we do not have emotions, how our life would be. Yeah, how we will be able to lead our life. Our life will be left with not anything. Okay. So when we take a decision, right, we also take the decision with the emotional state we are in, right? And then the decisions that we take, are we take them in the correct manner or not? That is also very important. So whereas when we talk about emotions, emotions helps us to do everything, right? They helps us to take the actions. They help us to, resolve to some situations. We are also protecting ourselves from any danger, from any circumstance with the help of emotions. Okay. So we all have our nervous system. That nervous system helps us to either be in the fight mode or in the flight mode, right? So the kind of emotions we experience helps us to either fight with it or to escape from it, isn't it? Next, please. Now, the emotions. Okay, so emotions are universally being recognized. Whether you belong from any culture, you belong from any place, right? So emotions would be same. Emotions are, recognized, which are widely the same. Okay. So you can see some of the emotions which are being presented to you on the screen, right? So when the study was being done for the very first time, so it was the 7 emotions that have been identified. And now when we talk about more researches by the different psychologists. So these psychologists, they identify the combinations of the emotions also, right? And they say that we don't experience the emotions which is in the one category, right? We have some primary emotions and we have some secondary emotions, isn't it? So you can see over here that the emotions are anger, disgust, sad, surprise, surprising in the positive or negative, sadness, fear, right? So these are all the emotions that are into the existence. Next, please. Okay. So with this, I want every one of you to also understand that the emotions have also the important elements. The emotions that we have just talked about, okay, so it can be experienced into the different forms. So first of all, what do we have is we have the subjectivity. So none of us have the equal understanding of our emotions. Okay, the annoyance or the happiness, that is the emotion, but everyone of us experience it in our own manner, right? To which we further develop to some physiological response. And that is the reason that when we get to some physical reaction, we basically understand that okay, I'm experiencing to this emotion, and then it takes the form of the action. Okay, so ultimately it leads to some reaction. So just now the activity that you did, that what triggers your emotions, so basically that you people have expressed. Yeah, and yes, you're right. Next, please. Okay, we all aim to achieve certain things in life, isn't it? And what are the main thing that helps us to do that? It is our intelligence. Okay, now intelligence is not being categorized as intellectual, but it is also recognized as emotional intelligence. And this is the topic that we all are gathered for here today. because my concentration in this webinar would be on the emotional intelligence. So how emotionally and with the emotional capacity one is able to take the important decisions in their life. Next. So the pioneer, the famous psychologist who has contributed to this field is Daniel Goleman. And Daniel Goleman has defined emotional intelligence, which is our main topic today, is the ability to be able to identify, assess, and control the one's emotions. First of all, it is about you. And then what you will be able to do is you will be able to also do the same thing for the others. And that will help to manage to the relationships. So this is the meaning of the emotional intelligence, which has been defined by the Daniel Goleman in a very beautiful manner and in a very simple manner that you may be all to understand. Now I want further all of you to understand that when we talk about EI, the emotional intelligence, so what are the important domains of emotional intelligence? So that is my next visual for all of you. So all of you can see here that these are the 4 important domains by which every one of us, any individual, are able to, cultivate the emotional intelligence. So if you want that your emotional capacity should be strengthened, so these domains needs to be worked upon. Now, if I talk about the first two, which is about being self-aware and managing yourself, so that is directly pointing to the inwards. That that points to your own self. Okay. And when I talk about the social awareness and managing relationships, so it talks about the outward. It talks about the domains which is related with the others, right? So I hope that you all understand to the importance of being aware about yourself. What emotions do you experience, right? And what are your feelings currently, and whether you express them in the right place and at the right time or not. Okay, so that is very important. Not only you have to recognize that who you are and what you people are feeling, but you have to also manage it. Okay, you cannot express any emotion at any point of time, otherwise you may ruin to the thing. And then when the inwards, when we work upon ourselves, right, then you can work easily on the aspect which is related with the others. So I talk about over here about understanding other person. Okay, so when you talk about being empathetic, it means that do you understand other person, do you relate to other person? So that is social awareness, that whether you are able to understand that how others are feeling or not. And with the help of that social awareness, what you do is also you manage the interpersonal relationships. Yes, so what you do is you basically manage that how you need to deal with the other person. Because if somebody is not feeling good, if somebody has a bad day, so it is not wise that you should also respond in a negative. You should respond to the manner that the person gets more upset. Okay, so having the interpersonal skills and dealing that into the situation is very, very much important. So that's the domain of the emotional intelligence. Next, please. Okay, so I read something very beautiful, and we should all definitely develop that habit, that we should always plan our schedule. Okay, so I hope every one of you know that we should be good at planning our task in a day. Now, in that planning, are you also keeping a time which is specially for the reflection purpose, which is specially meant for the purpose of that you need to also review to the things that what happened with you in the past? So over here, let's say in the work setting, when you're facing to some difficult situations, okay, and in the difficult situation, mostly people, what they do is they lose their control. Am I right? They don't react to the manner to what they should be able to do it, isn't it? So either you can do it at the same time, means you can reflect on to yourself at the same time in the same situation, or otherwise you can do it in the future. That's not a issue. So you should ask yourself all these questions, 6 questions, which are given to you in this slide. So you should ask yourself that in that situation, how did you feel? And what was the reason that you felt in that same way? What triggered your emotions? What are the things that actually triggered that same response? And do you also do the same things before? Was there any pattern? Was there any repetitive pattern that you have, made? And also that, is there anything that you need to understand the more? Okay. So if you actually get the answer for all the given questions over here, I'm very sure that when I talk about the self-management, okay, so you will be able to do the self-management very easily, right? So in this particular task or this activity, actually you are able to recognize yourself, your own emotions, and you are also being able to do this very effectively, regulate it quite good. Okay, so let's move on to the next. Now there is a time for another activity, and I want all of you again to think about something very like important. So in this case, I want that you should think about 2 people. Okay, so these 2 people must be related with you professionally in any setting, in any work setting. These two must be related with you professionally. So you have to think about the one person who was in a leadership position, with with which, with whom you would like to work again, with whom you want that, you should do the same relationship again. Yes. And when you finish with that, when you complete with the first person, to whom you can also say a good person, so the second that you people need to think of is that you have to think about that person with whom you have the same professional relationship, but you do not want to do it again. You do not want that the relationship should, be achieved in the future. So this is what I want to think about it, about the good and about not so good. What are the traits and what are the characteristics actually which help you to decide whether, you want to do it again or not? Yes, for both, for good and for bad, for both the type of the personalities, you have to think that traits, that what traits actually, make them, in your mind behave in that certain way. Okay. Now after you people, would reflect upon the traits, would actually look into that, what these people were made of. Okay, you will also next think of that how you were made feel with those people. What were your feelings actually? I can see to some responses like empathy, good, experience. Actually, experience would not be the exactly trait. So it's better that some trait or some characteristics needs to be figured out. and also think of that how did they make you feel. Yeah, so definitely with the positives, you will develop some bonding. That is good. Okay, so you all actually developed some emotional bond. You treat that first person, that first good leader, as one of your very close one. And it generally happens that you go to the same people to whom you share a very good bond, so that if you are in any help in any situation, so you can also take their help. Okay, so I think we are done with this. May we have the next one, please? Now, I want to discuss also here with you that after understanding emotions and its elements, domains, so why is emotional intelligence important? Okay, so there are so many things that we can do around ourselves today. We people are quite ambitious, passionate about so many things, isn't it? Now, in order to climb that ladder, in order to progress, I would say that it is a very important skill. You know, emotional intelligence is not your innate abilities. It is not something that you people possess from the birth, but this is a skill that you people develop, right? And the more experience you will get, I'm very sure that yes, you will be emotionally intelligent. Okay, so people who have the high EI, emotional intelligence, so what they do is they make a very good impact on the others. Yeah. So they stand out from the crowd, right? They deal with their situations in a very nicely, in a very, manner that it is very practically being done. And other people also feel that they should, get each and every opportunity that they people deserve, right? So if you want to make an impact on the others, if you want to be influential and have the relationship which they can stay for the whole life, so you people can today definitely decide that you have to work on your emotional intelligence. Next, please. So since I have discussed about the emotional intelligence so far and the role of emotions, now I want that you should also reflect upon the today's age of the disruption, right? So we people are in that age of innovation and the disruption, that we are exposed with so many things around us. And it is also very important to realize that we are comforting our lives with the help of the artificial intelligence, isn't it? Now, the ages of AI, right? And more people are focusing towards the accuracy, the logic, rationality, right? So, how the people, how the characteristics of the people, the individuals can also be important in the today's age, right? So, machines, when it comes to the machines and the technology, okay, they cannot be made resilient, okay, they cannot be made adjustable unless the humans only program them, right? So it is our ability, it is the human tendency that what we do is we learn from our failures and we come back, right? So it is very important that we should not be totally dependent upon the AI, the today's technology, but we should also be able to optimize our characteristics. So one such characteristic which I definitely want to mention over here is being empathetic. So we cannot be replaced by our empathy, right? And it is also quite important that we should be able to focus upon the empathy as well as our ability to adjust, to be able to give the innovative solutions and to solve the complex problems, right? And as you people understand that soft skills are very much important. If you need to survive, so you cannot only help with your hard skills, but your soft skills will be equivalent important. So how to develop and how to shape your soft skills, isn't it? So for that, you need to have a self-awareness, which I have talked about. So you should be able to recognize what are your strengths and what weaknesses do you hold and how you can eliminate those weaknesses. And you can also level up yourself at every passing time. Okay. So today the expertise and the knowledge about one's field is very important. So if every time you people are updating yourself, so that will be the best thing. So you have to also practice the new abilities. And whenever somebody provides you a feedback which is constructive, which is only important for your growth, you should be able to do that. Yes, updating. Yes, next. Maybe have the next, please. Yeah. So with this, with the lot of importance which is being given to the AI, this also left us to think of that, will the AI be sufficient enough? Will the AI be have the potential to replace the humans, to be able to replace totally the work of the human beings? What do you people say? May I have to some responses, please? That is artificial intelligence going to take over the task which from the beginning the human beings are able to do it? So, it will take definitely some time, and a lot of discussions and debates are being going on around this question. And the experts and the researchers, what they have identified, and to in many industry reports, what you will also see is that it is next to impossible that human beings will be taken over, okay, by the machine. And in order to have an alliance of the humans with the artificial intelligence, what is important is that the potential for both can be used. Okay, the potential for the people, which is like empathy, which is creative problem solving, and the resilience, adjusting. So they need to combine with the machine, their accuracy, their precision, their ability to manage so much of the data, right? So when we combine both of them, then what we can do is we can optimize to the results. Okay, there are some responses. Maybe AI don't have emotions, but they can understand, withstand, and behave as per human benefits. Okay. See, they have the ability. I'm not saying that. And when the OpenAI had released its product ChatGPT, it has received millions of the subscription in just 1 day of time period. Okay, so it means that the responses are appreciable. The appreciation goes to such technologies. But what I also want to highlight is that the importance of the human beings should not be ignored. Okay, and the alliance, the ability to be able to have a combined relationship is something that we need to look after. Next, please. Yeah. So, when such programs or some such webinars in which you are being like discussed about these areas, so you should also think of, and it is important for every one of us to understand that how to develop the strong people skills. See, when we are also talking about the age of the AI, so we have like lot of the currencies, lot of the forms of the currencies that we are also experiencing with digital currencies, cryptocurrencies. Okay, so this currency of having the relationship with the people is also important, which we also call it as the social currency. So how you will be able to develop the social currency? So there are few broad points which are mentioned over here. First of all, I want all of you to be sensitive towards to the diversity practices around you, because today the organizations are more responding and they're more sensitive towards hiring the diverse workforce. So you should also be able to appreciate that. You should also be the one who should you recognize the importance. Then individually you will find that most of the people, what they do is that in order to remain the focus, what they do is they want to write down the task. So it's important that you should also develop that habit of journaling, the journaling of your emotions, your feelings, or also the task that you people want to achieve. And then we should not ignore the importance of having the values, right? We people want our future generation, like I want for you people, you are my students, that you people should also develop the emotional intelligence, but it should not be at the cost of compromising on the values, right? You should be able to develop the relationship with the people, but it should not be at any compromise, right? So having the values and ethics along with the emotional intelligence is definitely the important thing. And then next thing is that you should be able to also help yourself to think and to do the task more innovatively, right? Think which is different with the others. Don't follow that crowd. Don't be into the same line that if the others are doing this, I also want to do it for my own, right? Every one of us have our own journey, right? So we should be able to do that manifestations, and we should be able to do the positive affirmations for ourselves. And this also leads to a very important point over here, which is called as the mindfulness. Okay, that whatever you do, every single task, every single minute, be in that, be mindful about what you are doing. Are you doing it for, are you doing something for yourself? And what benefits would it reap for you in the future, right? So we should not be able to also ignore that fact, and we should be able to stay calm and the positive for most of the time. So I'm pretty sure that to the four domains which we have just discussed in the today's emotional intelligence, so all of them are very important to be developed, all of them are very important to be paid center of focus. And along with that, these broader areas will definitely be helpful for you. You can reach out to the people to whom you feel are close, they are also knowledgeable. You can also reach out to the faculties and the academicians who teach you, who have ever taught you, or anything that benefits you and helps you to do something, develop something. So I feel all those things needs to be done, and we should not waste our time for that. Lastly, I have brought in this one online link for all of you. I want this link to be shared also here. I'll just share this. So this is a online test, online assessment, which actually helps you to know that how emotionally intelligent are you. So we'll just share here, and please do to this assessment. so that you can know about your own emotions and your emotional intelligence, right? So this will help you to achieve to some scores, and based to that scores, you will be able to know well that whether you need to work more or you are at the right pace in your journey, in your career journey, and how you will be able to do it further. So this is one such assessment for all of you. And if you have any questions or any feedback to share, you are most welcome.
Ma'am, before we go to the questionnaire, I would like to thank you. First, thank you so much for giving in your time, ma'am, for giving in this presentation. And yes, ma'am, there's one question from Harsha. So would you want to take the
Yes,
question?
yes, please, why not?
Right. So basically, this question says, I have an, okay, if a person was asked to write an argumentative essay on emotional intelligence in the era of AI, what points can a person raise to make it argumentative? I mean, so basically just wants to know the points that he can maybe write or tell anyone.
Exactly, exactly. So, Harsha, I know I don't know whether you have been actually given with this task or not. So let's say if you are, into the situation. So first of all, please try to understand to both the fields, because mainly when we talk about emotions or emotional intelligence, okay, people find this hard to be measured. Okay, so we can't be able to easily measure it. But on the other hand, when we talk about AI or when we talk about analytics, right, it talks about the logic. It talks about, the database results, isn't it? So please try to understand to both the fields very clearly. And if you talk about the argumentations, okay, so definitely you will be able to develop the arguments after you go completely into this topic, right? See, I have not been in the favor of that AI will replace to the humans, because I have been always a person who loved about humans, who loved to read about humans, who loved to know more about it. So I have been that person, and my specialization has always been into the same field. So, it has been definitely easy for me to also talk about that what we can do, what our potential is, but what the potential that AI cannot have, right? So I think, this will help you to develop a very strong opinion, and then you will be able to, critically analyze to the given question.
It
So
definitely.
kindly do it.
Right. So, Harsha, I hope that you've got the resolution of the query you've asked. And I would like to request anyone, if you have any other query, you can post in Q&A box or chat box. And I just want to mention, okay, so Harsha says thanks. So I think the query is resolved. And if you have any other query attendees, you can post in the chat box or Q&A box. And meanwhile, ma'am, I would want to take your permission to show them little about the site as well, like
Yes,
the
ma'am.
admission process. Okay. Okay. So to all the queries regarding admissions, we have one short resolution. I will be just briefing you, how you can basically take the admission and what all the procedure is going to be. So basically just simply write this site, that is lpu.in, in the browser, and this will be the interface that will be coming in front of you. Now I will be directly moving to the admission queries. So before I move on to the admission queries, I would want you to know that we have different webinars that are already lined up. So how you can just check what all webinars are there is, you simply go to the admissions, and once you go to the admissions, you go to this LPU's EduFair webinar page. And once you go to this webinar page, you have several webinars that are already lined up. You can register for them for free. They are all free, and you can gain as much as knowledge as you want. Okay, now moving on to the admission queries. So I simply go to the admissions, and we have different programs that are very beautifully segregated here. Regular programs like after 12th, after graduation, 10th, post graduation, etc., etc. I go to after 12th regular programs, and when I click on the regular program, there are whole lot of disciplines that are visible. As you can see, engineering, management, law, etc., etc. You name any of the discipline, we have it here. I click on the management here, and once I click on the management, I mean, you can click on any of the discipline. I just clicked on the management, and once I click on the management, I can see all the programs, all the courses that are offered under that particular discipline. And I'm going to take an example of, let's say, BBA. So once I click on the BBA, or any of the course, you will be finding these details. So program details, I mean, these all the highlighted option will be, I think you would be requiring to know about the program, or how do you, what you need to know about a particular program. So basically, this program details gives you an eligibility criteria, whether you're eligible for a course or not. Now, moving to the highlights section, that gives you all the student achievement, researches, placements, rankings of the university. Moving to the fee part, once you click on the fee, we have, just a moment. Yeah, this is the fee that is per semester, and we have different scholarships also. 3 scholarships here. You can avail up to 35% of the scholarship. You need to just check it out if you are eligible for that or not. And these are mentioned here. And we have other scholarships as well, other than the scholarship that were mentioned there, like financial aid, and if you have been a topper or a part of a, let's say, entrepreneur or an innovative project. Now is the important date, is the last date of the admission, that is 10th of July. So just start applying for the course. And how you can apply, simply click on this apply now option. And once you click on this apply now option, there are some bare minimum requirements, and after that you click on submit, and after that you'll be given your dashboard, and from there you can actually apply to the course or the test that you want to give. Now I hope that I've given you a little brief as to what is needed to be done in order for you to take admission. Now, if you want to talk to us, you can simply schedule a call. You can WhatsApp us or have a live video counseling session as well with us. So I hope that I've given you a fair review as to what is needed to be done. And I can see different questions about, okay, so students are saying that, ma'am, it was a great explanation of the presentation of the webinar that you've given. And I also want to say thank you so much, ma'am, for coming in, for crediting your time, and for giving in your experience, your knowledge here. And there are a lot of students who are already thanking you, and it is like a last word of thanks for the explanation. Like the way you have explained is really appreciated, ma'am. Thank you so much for coming in here. And
Thank you, ma'am.
yeah, and at the last, I would want to thank all the participants also for this very much interactive session. And Harsha says nice session. Yes, it was indeed a nice session. So Harsha, and to all the participants, meet you soon in the next webinar. And until then, stay safe and stay healthy. And thank you so much for joining in.